Beyond any of the characters themselves, Sonic is without a doubt known for his iconic world. The many green hills, chemical plants, bustling cities, ice, water, sand, jungle, sewer? However, despite all these vastly different interpretations of the land Sonic traverses, one thing and one thing only has remained consistent. If you're gonna make a Sonic level, then it better have loops. Well, okay, except when they don't. Loops are synonymous with Sonic himself. It's like one of the first things you expect when playing a new Sonic game. These bizarre structures are not only cool to look at, but also extremely practical. Helps you build up speed in a natural way that then shoots you off into the horizon. And surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, it is one of the things Sonic Team continues to fail to understand. I'm gonna give a controversial take right here. Put my head on a pitchfork if you want, but I'm just gonna say it. In like 50% of all Sonic games, the loops are fucking pointless. Nothing more than dangling keys in front of a Sonic fan's face. I ain't no loop eater or anything, but sometimes you can't help but wonder if Sega even knows why these things were so cool in the first place, why they became a staple in the series. And to me it all comes down to two simple factors that Sonic oftentimes finds himself at odds with. Spectacle versus practicality. So today let's talk about loops in Sonic, because why not? Let's discuss what makes a good loop, what makes a bad loop, and if Sega could find a way to combine these two approaches that are so frequently at odds with each other. But first, guys, Sonic Dream Team was just released for Apple Arcade, and some of you out there might be a little upset to learn you have to use your fingers to play the next 3D Sonic game. Ugh. Well, have I got the sponsor for you. This video is sponsored by Backbone. Snapping into an iPhone or Android, the Backbone 1 controller allows you to play wherever, whenever, with a super easy to set up controller. Just snaps in. Of course, this works on any game with controller support like Call of Duty or Roblox, but again, I know we're all excited for that Sonic Dream Team. And after testing out some other Sonic games on mobile, I know for sure it's going to elevate that experience way more than simply using touch controls. On top of that, you can also download the Backbone Plus app, which allows you to edit and upload your own clips. So if you wanted to make any content surrounding it, it seems like that's the way to go. Backbone makes the perfect gift for both new and experienced gamers of all ages. They even have an Apple Arcade trial bundle. Want to play Sonic Dream Team but don't have Apple Arcade? Then check out the link below to see their offer. So get your own Backbone controller at playbackbone.com or use the link in the description below, and thanks to Backbone for sponsoring this video. Now, loops in the Sonic series come in many shapes and sizes. Too many to get into, but they have gotten pretty creative at times with them over the series' 30-year lifespan. That giant loop in Sonic Heroes that splits off into 3 separate loops only to join back at the end. Love him. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to be focusing on one and only loop today. And I see it as only fitting to start off by discussing the loop that we most often see in the 2D entries before making our way to the 3D ones to see where they meanly mess this up. This is the average loop in Sonic 1, 2, 3, CD, Chaotix, I guess, you get the point. It works pretty simple. You make a running start up to it. Then, as you start to make your way through, you'll find yourself starting to slow down due to this nifty little thing called gravity. But as you start to work your way around again, you'll start building up speed. Because again, gravity, don't worry about it. And because of all this, you'll end up coming out the other side of the loop faster than when you went in. Now, the speed you need to be running to actually do this makes it perfect for Sonic, right? And is undoubtedly the best thing in the whole game to show off Sonic's unique momentum and physics. Certainly more than this does, at least. Wow. But it also helps you a lot in gameplay, too. It stops you in place for a second before shooting you off faster than ever. And so I think it works almost like a quick little pit stop. You get to catch your breath for a brief moment, and time to anticipate all the speed you're about to be given. I also find it way more easier to not lose track of myself going through a loop more than a simple dash panel that sends you off screen. Also, not to mention just how satisfying it feels. And so the loop gives anyone and everyone easy accessibility to that speed, and so now even the most inexperienced players get the chance to be better at the game. This right here in its many iterations are good fucking loops, S-star. Translating them to the 3rd dimension was a whole other story. That extra axis changes everything. It takes the once basic act of moving to the right, and now wants you to stay on that track too. It's why the loops of adventure are so damn thick despite only ever being presented as skinny little rock formations. You can't trust the player to be so precise with such a fast and unwieldy character like Sonic. And so after Adventure, Sega made the bold choice to just kinda stop trying. Instead of forcing their character to make their way through a loop with this slippery-ass hedgehog, they instead said, "It's okay, don't worry about it, life is tough. we'll take control for a minute and you go back to thinking about how you have to do taxes. 3D Sonic games are often criticized for their automation, and I think that shines nowhere more than with the loops. After Adventure, it felt like every new release, each new Sonic game had to take more and more control away from the player to prevent them from breaking these scripted sequences. Which are scripted because you'd have to be a fucking gaming god to maneuver your way around some of these fucking things. After a while, they kinda realized this, and the loop got delegated to nothing more than mere spectacle. They got larger and more grand as the camera started zooming out to show you the scope and scale of this structure. At first they were mainly helpful for quickly picking up speed, but now they're a fucking movie in their own right, goddamn. Saying that though, doesn't mean they're bad. With 3D being so much harder to work with, this spectacle allows the level to feel much more impactful than it maybe is in reality. Like sure, I'm still running down a 3-lane corridor, but now there's like fire and a tornado and shit, whoa. These giant loops are the perfect opportunity to give the camera a second to show the scale and atmosphere of what's around you, even if all you're doing in the moment is holding right or boosting. I certainly do wish we had more of an attempt to put control in the player's hand, but I don't think a Sonic game should be without mindless spectacle either. I mean, it's like part of the series' identity, I can't imagine him without it. Again, these are what I like to call the practical loop and the spectacle loop. Both are solid. But there's one loop I feel to discuss. Perhaps the worst loop of them all. The fuck was that for? This is what I'm dubbing the pointless loop. A loop that is not only fucking boring to look at, but it also doesn't provide you with anything gameplay-wise. It only serves to waste your time and remind you that you're playing a Sonic game, even if all this does is highlight how much worse the Sonic game is in comparison. I think at the start of every Sonic engine they should do themselves a simple test. Can our Sonic run through a loop? If yes, good. If no, bad. He's Sonic the Hedgehog, guys. He runs through the fucking loop. Why would you in any world think that that shouldn't be possible in your engine? But you're also not giving it any spectacle, so it's at least nice to look at. So like, why? Who is this for? Me? I don't want it. They're really in between a rock and a hard place. They can't do entirely devoid of automation loops, because you'd have to be so skilled at the game to make sure that doesn't disrupt your flow. At least not regularly, making it frustrating for casuals, even though I think in some ways that would be fine. But they also can't get away with making it all automatic spectacle either, because it's Sonic the fucking Hedgehog. And that gets old after a while. Especially because you already did attempt occasionally in earlier games like Adventure, and so it shows that you're just kinda giving up on trying, yeah. And so, what do they do? How do we solve this issue? This problem, if you will. And really, I think their best bet here is to just do both and hope for the best. It would be pretty easy, I feel, to create smaller loops scaled more accordingly to the classic ones. Not massive in size or anything. Maybe all you have to do is make it up halfway on your own, and if you do that, then the game kind of steers you towards the center for the exit. That way you still have the chance to jump out of it on the way in, yet still gives you a swift and fast exit. Like a glorified dash panel. Also, I'm just all for more natural ways of Sonic gaining speed in general. No more dash pads, please. But then you also have these giant loops more similar to the ones in Generations and Unleashed. Ones that still allow you to have Sonic spectacle. Maybe you can even make super giant ones that turn into segments similar to the Speed Highway Chase or the Clock Tower moment from Generations. Dodging shit and getting rings. I don't know, I guess I just wish they'd be more creative with it. It feels like loops are only ever treated as these little dinky things that do nothing. Or the goddamn mega ones that are pure spectacle. Why haven't we seen them try and use them for anything else during gameplay? It's astonishing, really. I guess I'm just sick and tired of it feeling like loops were given up on. Maybe I can't find the answer, I ain't no game designer. I mean, you're telling me we can put a man on the moon, but we can't figure out how to make loops fun and simple in 3D Sonic games? I just can't sleep at night knowing I'll never get to see the day I can run around to loop in an official non-fan game 3D Sonic game. I can't. So keep fucking trying, SEGA. You don't get to quit that easy. And I'm saying this because I care, because I know someday you'll get it right. But 25 years, really? I don't know, maybe it's not a huge deal or anything. I'm not really losing any sleep at night over this. I guess I just see that the loops have so many fun possibilities for gameplay additions to Sonic games. They were once a staple, and so to see them only be stripped further and further every game is a little sad. Either way, let me know in the comments why I shouldn't care so much, and Merry Christmas, goodbye, I'll see you next year.